Good morning, good afternoon, good evening across the country, around the world. Welcome back to Planet Coaster WestCOT. This episode as well as the next one are quite the endeavor. We're gonna jump into the time lapse in just a moment. There it goes. First off, I wanted to just change a few things because while they only have a few signs for these guys, I realized later, oh, there's awnings that have their icons on them, so we do that to all of these different drink places because it just enhances it, gives a little more text. Otherwise, you don't know what some of them are. And then putting up the Gulpy, which to me just looks like the Gatorade lightning bolt, I guess. Anyway, so that's that. Next, here's the big part. Here's the big thing. Jumping over here, we're doing a dark ride. A ginormous, humongous, ridiculous dark ride. Yeah, we are using the little automobiles, the Luna Autos. And the excitement rate doesn't get really up to anything. And honestly, this track layout you're going to see me do here in the beginning is not what I stay with. I mean, you'll see I cut it and I redo it, make it more compact. But this is going to be a huge dark ride. It's going to make the vehicle assembly building that I thought would be a huge weenie for the park. It's going to make that feel medium-sized. This, when it's all done, I haven't even finished walling in the show building. I've walled in all the show scenes, but that's for next episode. But at that point, it's taller, bigger, wider. It's just huge. It's taken me about, well, we'll get to that next episode. Anyway, this is going to be a dark ride. It's kind of inspired by, if anyone has been to the real Epcot in Florida, it is inspired by Spaceship Earth and how that kind of journeys through time and shows how, I think the story is how communication develops and technology develops over time. And at the top of the sphere, you're up in I believe the world's second largest planetarium. The first largest is somewhere in Russia. Leave it to the Russians. Anyway, this is kind of inspired by that. Actually, it's very much inspired by that, except that it's not inside a sphere doing whatever crazy wibbly wobbly stuff that does. But it is something of a time traveling. I mean, it's basically time traveling. That's kind of the effect we go with through different eras, and that's what you see me doing right now. I'm pulling up pieces that are from stock. They're from the workshop. They're not mine. They're stock pieces. Actually, most of those there are stock vanilla pieces that are made, that are blueprints that come with the game, or for scenery. And right now I'm looking at the workshop for others. That's why the mouse kind of stopped for a moment there, because we're gonna have I think we end up with 5 different sections. We're gonna have a kind of a medieval section there with the dragon there. You can see the steam train in the background, so we're going to have a Wild West section. And I admit I steal a lot of pieces from what's it called? From Park Buena Vista to fill in that. We're going to have a pirate section with the ship and the Kraken. Again, that's a stock thing. I didn't take too long to build a lot of these things. It was enough to piece everything together and build the show walls and everything. That's plenty. So this is, like I said, I use a lot of stock things just to fill it in. And right now, this is just to give you an idea of what's the size of things. And I wanted the track to go down to ground level. We end up doing that. But again, this track layout is not the final track layout. It gets compressed and stretched in different ways. But after the steam train, after the Wild West section, we are going to have a modern section. That's kind of, nowadays, a contemporary section. And then after that, we have a sci-fi, science fiction, futurist section that looks at the future. And there's a ship or two, and there's a landing pad and things like that. But again, that's all for next episode. This episode is mostly just getting the basic shape of the track down. And this track layout is so huge. I end up, before I shrunk this track layout, I did a game save with a different title, so that I could progress and change it. And I end up measuring the difference, and I cut the width that you see here from, right to left as you look at the station toward the future, or at the station with the future section, the spaceship over there down at the left. I cut it from, from the station that I build, the station building that we end up building, down that way toward the spaceship. It ends up being 48 tiles long, going off the same grid that the station is on. Whereas when it's compressed, it's only 24 tiles long. So I cut it by about a third because the station's pretty wide too, but it also gets stretched back. Here, though, I did lower it down to ground level just so the car wasn't running, you know, up on stilts the whole time because I thought that looked kind of weird. But there you could see how big it was in comparison. Tried to move it. Nope, I lost the ground level. So I said, nope, don't do that. Yeah, it doesn't want to let you like set it flush with ground level when you do an advanced move or a move with it. So that's the first variation of the track layout. It is not, like I said, the final variation. But this station that I'm going to build here does stay the way it is. It's fairly straightforward, I guess. I mean, there's a tile. Yeah, screw everything off there, and that was did not want to. There it goes. Standby queue and the priority entrance pass queue, fast pass queue, whatever it is. And they both cross over the station. And then that goes over there. Come on, I was having trouble with it going the right direction. There we go, and then it drops down and joins its mate, and we move that over. Boop. And then the exit queue. So entrance and exit, fairly straightforward. It's going to be a futuristic looking building. It ends up being framed out with the metal alloy. So it's got those little metal studs on the sides, or on the corners, I mean. And it's okay, but it's not, I'm not sure what the final look of it is going to be, at least not yet. I'm not there yet. So something I'd wanted to do was I wanted to have the monorail come through the ride, and in the future section, the sci-fi section, have the monorail track there, and hopefully, if you're a lucky rider, go through it when the monorail is shooting past. Because, the monorail's still a futuristic-looking mode of transportation. So that's what I was doing there. I was just putting the monorail track in, kind of getting an idea of where that's going to go, because I would have to build a bit of the station around it to make sure the station's not impinging on that, or if I need to do different things. We end up not going with that because it doesn't work out. The monorail ends up shooting right in front of the building, and it works out just fine. Whew. And there they go off on their adventures. I think initially I was going to call it not Adventure Time. That's something something else. Time Adventures, Time Journey. I was like, all these are really, really So I did a Google search, and there's not that many, like, as far as, I almost did a book title, a novel title search for books about time travel. And there's a lot of them that are just random phrases, places, things, names. They weren't all that wonderfully inspirational for time traveling names. So we end up going with, I believe I choose Chrono Venture. Because Chrono, it's time, and Adventure. And that's what we end up calling the ride. Chrono Venture. Yeah, but these are the metal walls that I use, the metal alloy walls that I use for the station. It's pretty bare and plain right now, just that, steel gray, whatever color that is. I will go through and add scenery bits. I think I'm going to actually use the posters because to me that would kind of make sense, because you're going to have all these different things like the Kraken and stuff. So I think it'd be kind of fitting to have posters of things on the hallway as you're going through. And even though this ride only, I think in that track layout, it's only like a 5.3. And I think when I'm done, it ends up being, for a while it's a 5.19. I don't know why, but it ends up being like a 5.5 or 5.05. People still queue up for it. People still want to ride on a simple little ride like this, which I find cool and amazing. I know that was a tweak that they did recently for people actually, riding things. But, yeah. So, station. Yes. But yeah, whenever this ride is open, it's got a huge line, and the priority pass line is utilized usually as well. Here we go. Yeah, Time Journey, and caps. We don't go with that. I don't stick with that. Like I said, it ends up being Chrono Venture, which I don't know. Like there was other names I could have gone with. Nothing was really like popping into mind for what to go with, but Chrono Venture, that works. It's the best I could come up with, and yeah, that tile was being uncooperative, that wall piece. And this is becomes a big maze, a big labyrinth of pieces because of the way they cross over each other and the grid and whatnot. But once it's together, it's all hidden. You can't see it. It is plain. Like I said, I do need to decorate all the walls so that there's something for them to see. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah. But I like the way it ends up looking. It's very, very futuristic. And I'm going to do a sign treatment on the front. There's going to be, what else is there going to be? I have thoughts. I just haven't manifested them or haven't articulated them to myself, I guess, that well. But there would be other things on the station that make it pop and look really cool. It'll be other accents to the building itself that make it look fancy. Yeah, some of those pieces where it's on the split tile, the half tile stuff, it just does not want to cooperate. But I think we're about done. Yeah, we're about to close up the station building. Yeah, yep, this is it. This is the last bit for the station. And at this point, I was done with it. And I even went to, like, this was like the finale shot for the end of the episode. But I was driving around on the next, or later that night or the next night, thinking, you know what? No, it's just so huge. It's so big. It's too much. It's too much. And so I came back the next day and kicked everybody out, which takes forever for them to file out. Missed a few walls on the inside. Sorry. Yeah, otherwise the fast pass queue is like looking off into nowhere. And here's the part where I alter the station queue. Okay, yeah, lay down the concrete because, yeah, station should be concreted in. But here's the time where I start yanking all these things away and out of the way just so that I have them for... But I wanted them for reference, you know, for scale and things. But here's where it all... all that track layout changes. But at this point, I had an idea of how I wanted things to work, how I wanted them to transition. And this, it is a bit of a... It's still a big layout, but it's a simpler, a bit more compact layout. And I think you still get all the bang for your buck. The vehicles are currently moving, I think, at like 12 miles per hour. I might slow that down to like 8 or 10 to give you more time to actually see things. Otherwise, you're zipping through things really fast. And I know, like, Spaceship Earth, any Omnimover ride like that, even, you know, Roger Rabbit, Monsters Inc., Snow White, they don't move that fast. They only move at a few miles an hour, maybe like 6. But that's something to consider. And then, oh yes, here I thought, okay, how do you crack it? You can't see the crack it from the track. What do you do? And I should have left the ship rotated like that where it's tilting toward the track, but I left it rotating away. But we end up, there we go, with, oh, come on. There we go, with the Kraken on one side of the track and the ship on the other. And yes, it's just in the ground right now. Don't worry, I'll go back and put it in the water a little bit later. I think on the next episode I do that. Yeah, I don't do it on this one. I'm not even sure if I do that on camera. But here we have us coming between the Kraken and the ship, like we're really in the middle of the battle there. And then here, you'll notice that went a lot further back as well. But here, because we had a bunch of space wasted there, I took it back at 45 degrees or beyond, whatever that is. Oh gosh, math, I can't do it. But I figured use up that space, and we actually end up having the Wild West in that diagonal space there, as well as what I'm building here, which again is not the final layout, which is the modern world, ends up being in a bit of a diagonal layout as well. But here you can see we kind of already are coming back, and it's much, much shallower than it was, because that spaceship was, you still had some track past that. So like I said, I cut down about a third of the width, which helps. It's still a huge building. It's still a very wide, very spread out building. And when I get the show building complete, it's going to be just ginormous. It's going to be crazy, I'm sure. Yeah, we do this. We don't even get quite out to the level of the spaceship that's over there. Maybe close to it. I think we do one more dogleg there. But again, this second half, after the Wild West section, none of the track that you see here is what it ends up being. Smooth, smooth, smooth. Yeah. But this gives me an idea, and maybe gives you an idea, of what's going on here. This, once I got into it, this was the largest, most ridiculous, most ambitious thing I had done yet. And there's a part of me that almost regrets doing it, because it's so big. It's so huge. But there we go. Move the monorail line. And monorail will be utilized as transportation once we get other lands, like the other countries, kind of established in the back there. But that's pretty much most of the new layout. I was playing with triggers for the Kraken, But I think because the vehicles were dispatching so quick because it was in test mode, they weren't all being seen. So I ended up scrapping the what's it called? The triggers for that because they're unnecessary. The Kraken's always popping up, and you got vehicles coming through fairly quickly. Maybe now with guests riding it, I can try it again, but I don't really think I want to. Anyway, that's it for this episode. Much more to come on this one. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. If you like, hit subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, pass the word. I will catch you later.